AI will replace artists. You have heard it, maybe you have felt it, and maybe you were wondering if the thing you have spent years building, skill, taste, creative identity, is about to become irrelevant. I want to tell you why I think that this narrative is not just wrong, it's actually backwards. Because what AI is doing, what it's actually doing, underneath all the noise, is not replacing artists. It's exposing who actually is one. And that's what we are getting into today. But I want to start somewhere you probably did not expect. A while back, I spent like 3 days completely inside Regency era romance on Netflix. At 1 a.m., Notion page opened, pen and paper beside me, taking notes like a man who has a problem. I am Lord of the Rings guy, I am Witcher guy, I like monsters, action, that's my territory. If you put that romance book in front of me, I would have laughed and walked away. I would have probably judged it by the cover. But my wife picked it one night, and I could not get back to myself for a couple of days. I am talking about Bridgerton. And look, why it hit me the way it did, that's a whole separate video. I'll go deep on that one soon, but right now what matters is what it forced me to figure out. Why does something completely outside your taste pull you in and refuse to let go? And when I finally found the answer, it had nothing to do with romance. It had everything to do with the craft. And that's exactly where we are going. Here's what AI will actually replace. The assembly line. Below average, fast-made, nobody actually cared about this work. The kind where the human was barely important in creating it anyway. Of course, a machine takes that over. How could it not? But here's the thing. That was never art. That was production for production's sake. Volume without a single real decision behind it. Think about someone who spends their career filling in the same template. Same format, same approach, every single time. Same stock music, same stock visuals, same stock everything. They had the job title, but were they actually directing anything? Were they actually deciding anything? Or were they just processing? That work is changing hands. Not because it had no value. Someone had to do it. It kept things moving, it paid bills, and met deadlines. But because of nature of it, repetitive, templated, low decision, it's exactly what automation was always going to absorb eventually. That's not judgment. That's just the direction of travel. But the person who knows how to guide viewers' attention, who understands pacing, tension, composition, who knows exactly when to hold the shot and when to cut it, who build their own instincts through real decisions, real mistakes, real feedback under real pressure. That person isn't replaceable that easily. They are more valuable than they have ever been. Here's the thing about AI that nobody explains clearly enough. It doesn't hand you a ladder when it raises the ceiling. AI simply raises the ceiling and says, climb if you can. Think about what it actually removes. Technical ceilings, resource ceilings, budget ceilings, the advantage that big agencies had producing high-end work simply because they could afford the camera, the gear, the cast, the set. That's dissolving. A single person can generate the world they need, the cast, the environment, even the weather, the whole thing. That sounds like democracy. And in some ways, it genuinely is. But here's what it doesn't give you. It doesn't give you the eye, the judgment that tells you this frame is wrong before you consciously know why. The instinct that says, hold this shot 3 seconds longer and let the discomfort breathe. The ability to build the scene where your audience is feeling something before they understand why are they feeling it. Those aren't tool skills. Those are human skills. Built over time, built through work, built through enough repetitions that the logic actually stops running on top and starts running underneath. No tool gives you that. You have to earn it. So if AI isn't a threat, what is? This is the part I actually want you to hear. The real threat is artists replacing their own depth with convenience. Why study pacing when tools move so fast? Why learn composition when you can generate hundreds of images in a couple minutes and just pick the one that looks good? Why develop taste when you can iterate your way to something acceptable without ever really deciding anything? That instinct to skip the foundation because the tool feels like enough. That's what worries me. Not some machine deciding that your job is obsolete, but you deciding that the hard part isn't worth doing anymore. Because here's what happens when someone does build foundation and picks AI on top of it. That result isn't addition, it's multiplication. Craft times capability. That's a complete different equation. That's where real power sits. But if there's nothing underneath, even unlimited capabilities means basically nothing. You are simply standing in the field of infinite materials and no blueprint. You can generate forever and never arrive anywhere. No amount of AI fixes that. I'll be honest about where I sit in this. I don't know everything. I am still learning, still experimenting, still very aware of how fast this landscape shifts. Anyone telling you that they have it all figured out is either not paying attention or they are selling you something. But what I do know, after 15 years working across advertising, film, design, direction, production, is this: the fundamentals outlast everything. Tools change, platforms change. What works in AI tooling today will be completely different in 6 months. That's already happened at least twice since I started to pay real attention. What doesn't change is color theory, composition, storytelling, pacing, psychology, the architecture of how humans simply respond to things. That stuff works because we are wired for it. It worked centuries ago, it works now, and it will work after whatever will come next. That's why the Bridgerton got me the way it did. Not because it was technically flawless, though it was, but because people behind it understood how to guide emotion, how to earn reaction, how to make someone feel something real without them seeing the machinery behind it. And sitting there at 1 a.m. with Notion and notebook, doing my notes, I realized I wanted to be able to do that in my own work, in my own voice. That combination, deep experience and genuine humility about what you actually still don't know, that's not weakness. That's how you stay sharp. And right now, in this industry, staying sharp is the whole game. If you want to go one layer deeper, I am building something called Full Stack and Synthetic, a newsletter, a framework, a way of thinking about creative work in the era of AI. You'll find the link in the description. No noise, no hype, just the real work. So here's the one thing I want you to carry out of this. AI is the most powerful amplification layer that's ever existed for creative work, but it only amplifies what's already there. Solid foundation, knowledge, taste, craft, judgment. The output compounds into something real. Nothing underneath. The output is just faster nothing. It was always about the human in that equation. And it still is. If this landed somewhere for you, drop it in comments. Tell me where you are at with this. I read everything. And if you want to go deeper, I've got more coming. A lot more. See you in the next one.